Sean! Big Sean! Hey, so it's a little dark in here, but whatever. Want to talk about, I guess I'm going to talk about two things. I was only going to talk about one. But I guess they kind of go together. I probably could have made two videos out of it, but I don't really need to be that much of a video hog. Hopefully the background noise isn't terrible. I'm driving a piece of shit Econoline van here. It was free, so I can't complain. Anyhow, I want to talk about, first of all, an auto check from the bank for a purchase of a vehicle. I mean, it's not going to be super in-depth. It's just going to be my experience with it. I also want to talk about my experience buying a used vehicle from a rental company. So first, the auto check. I kind of exercised, I guess you could say, that idea, and talked with the bank, my financial institution, which is local. I wanted to purchase a vehicle. I didn't know I was going to buy a rental, an old rental, first and foremost. There was 3 vehicles that I was going to go and purchase, but were sold before I got there at dealerships. So my first scenario with the auto check, I was looking at Toyota Siennas. I ended up buying a Sienna, but they were all Toyota Siennas, but the years varied. The first one I went and looked at was a 16, I believe. So it was a 2016. I called the bank up. I'm like, I filled out the information on the online and did the application. They called me right up. Boom. It was like, oh God, I think it was 45 minutes later after I submitted it. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm going in 2 days to go look at this van. So they called me right up. Yeah, Sean, no problem. Here's the interest rate. If you do it for 4 years, if you do it for 5 years. So I'm like, hey, what's the best idea? Because I wanted to go to a dealership with my financing already in place, because I didn't want them to try to sell me an interest rate. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. I'll touch on it real quick. So when the car dealership sells you a car, I'm not a salesman, nor was I a salesman, nor am I a financial, what do they call that at the dealership there? The finance guys, whatever, that sell you contracts and all the other bullshit that you don't need to spend money on. So what happens is you go to the dealership, right? You got really great credit. They'll search like 3, whatever, however many banks. And the other thing that they do is they have banks that they work with. It may be, so like Toyota might have Toyota Financial partners, which makes sense for them. They can only make more money. So what they do is they search your best interest rate, right? So most interest rates right now at the time of this video, if you have good credit, which I do, so for a 4-year term on a used car, I think it was like from 2014 and newer. Oh, that it was a 2014 was the first car I looked at. But anyhow, 2014 and newer, you get 3.09 if you have good credit. I don't know what it is if you have, weak credit. I don't want to say bad credit, but, like 600 range. I don't think that's bad, but that's kind of, I guess they consider it mediocre. Or for 5 years, it was 3.49. So, what they'll do, almost forgot where I was going with that. So what they'll do is, like, they'll search. So the dealership's, okay, I can get this guy or this girl 2%. The bank's willing to sell it to the dealership. I may be putting it in the wrong scenario, but it's generally how it works. So say that the dealership gets you financing for 2% interest rate. So they're going to come out to you and be like, oh, the best I could find for you is 4%. And you're like, oh, okay, 4% ain't bad. That's pretty much the going rate, right? So what will happen now is if you buy the car and do all the financing with them, the bank that does the lending pays the dealership that 2% above and beyond what they sold it for the term of your loan in one lump sum and the price of the car. And then you just owe the bank. You know what I'm saying? So it's not tacked on at the end. It's just what they sold you. Whereas maybe on your own you could have gotten something a little bit better. So that's what happens. So what ends up happening is the dealership makes money on the loan, right? So they may make a couple grand on the loan, depending on the price car, maybe more, maybe less. And then they make money on the car, right? So whatever, that might be another couple grand. And then they're going to sell you the doc fee, right? Which is bullshit, but it's just another way for them to recover some money. You know, it might be the salesman's commission. They say it's a processing fee, but come on, let's be serious. And that varies widely from dealer to dealer. Holy cow. In my experience, wow. Some of them get right after it. So they get you, say it was $399, right? That's generally around where it is. So they get you for that. And then you go in the finance office, right, to seal the deal, sign your life away on an 8-year note. I'm kidding. I didn't do that. I've done one for 7 years. Luckily, it was a lemon law buyback, so I didn't have to pay it at all. I only paid on it for a little over a year. But anyhow, so you go in there, and then they're like, hey, you know, you should really buy gap insurance. I get the idea that they got me once on that, buying a new car. I ain't doing it again. Oh, and you know what? We sell this service contract for $2,200. It covers all your oil changes and anything that breaks down, but whatever, you know what I'm saying? So they end up making, I don't know, $6,000-$7,000 on selling you a car. It's fucking ridiculous. So I wanted to avoid that. So I'm like, I just want to get it squared away with my financial institution. I know if I do it for a 4-year, and if it's a 2014 and newer, I'm getting 3.49 for 5 years. If I finance it for 4 years, it's 3.09. And I'm like, I really want to do 4 years. But anyhow, so I wanted all my ducks in a row. I wanted to go to the bank with a check. I wanted to write a check. I wanted to skip the bullshit. And I didn't want anything extra. I'm like, I don't want to purchase nothing extra. Except for, you know, the registration fees in my state, whatever, sales tax, which I didn't have to pay. But regardless, so that's how it goes down. So with the auto check, so you have to have an idea of what you're going to go look at, right? So the issue is like, the first car, first van I was going to look at was a 14. I made a mistake, so it was a 16. It was a 14. And then, you know, so I called them up. I'm like, hey, it looks like a really good deal, blah, blah, blah. I'm going down. They're like, yep. I'm like, here's what I'm going to put down for cash. I had like it's like $5,000, whatever. And then what I want to finance from you guys, here's what I suspect I'm going to finance from you guys, depending on how negotiations go. But here's in the ballpark. Which that isn't a big deal because they want to, you know, it doesn't have to be specific, right? And again, this is my experience on what happened with me with this auto check. So, yep, okay, so what they want to do is gather a book value, because they're not going to say, for instance, Sean, go ahead, you know, we're going to lend you $18,000 on this 2014 Sienna. So that's not how it works. You know, say if the Sienna was $23,000 and you want to finance the whole thing, what the finance institution does, which makes perfect sense, but with the ad, it's not like you just walk in and get an auto check. So they're like, well, I got to book the vehicle out. Okay, so they look up at 2014 and they're like, okay, well, max I can loan you on that is $18,000. Okay. So, but anyway, so that ended up not working out. So I ended up going after a 16 for more money, a little bit more money. So I had to call them. I'm like, hey, here's what I'm going to do. Oh, I got to book that vehicle out and see what the value is. Okay. Oh, yeah, everything looks good. I'm like, okay. So that one didn't work out. And I'm like, holy shit. So to me, it was kind of a pain because every time, you know, it changed up a little bit. You know, I had to keep calling and they had to book the vehicle out and whatever. So it was a little bit scattered. So lot of people are thinking, Sean, just do your financing at the bank or at the dealership, and you can skip all that, or get a bank check, or the bank check you have to know what you're paying for it. So whatever. So I got a lot of reasons I didn't want to finance at the dealership, and my number one, so I'll say no, my number two after number one, controlling what I'm going to pay for interest, is I want to deal with a bank local. I don't like dealing with banks out of state. It's a huge pain in my ass, because if I ever want to sell the vehicle outright, I can't get the damn title. I have to pay the vehicle off, which I get. I'm not stupid. I know they're not going to give up the title. But if somebody's interested in the car, and I went to the dealership and they found me financing in, like, I don't know, for instance, Utah with some Joe Schmo's lending tree, like they're going to say, yeah, send me a bank check for the amount you owe and I'll send you the title, which I get, but that doesn't help me sell the car. Or have the person meet me at your bank, at your institution, we'll pay it off together and get the title. I can't do that. Whereas the place I deal with, they have the title in storage, right? So I call them up 2 days in advance, and I'm like, hey, I got somebody interested in my vehicle. Could you please get the title in a local office where I am? If they want to buy it, we're going to go in together. He'll pay off the note and whatever. If I have anything else above and beyond, they'll handle that with me. But I have access to it, almost immediately, and it's available. So that's my second biggest thing. A lot of people will just trade their cars in and not have to deal with it, and the dealership gets the title and the payoff and the whatever. But I'm not that guy. Like, I'm not trading cars in and losing a pile of money. So anyway, so that's my thing on the auto check. So what I ended up doing is I ended up buying an 18 after all. So what I ended up having to do is the place I went to buy it, Avis Car Sales, they saw the auto check and they're like, oh my God, we've never seen this before. It's like a draft, right? Turn this light on. I'm like, they told me it's like cashing a check. I fill in the amount and I sign it. It's a whole bank deal. It's like on a sheet of paper with instructions, so you don't fuck it up. And I was like, you guys deposit it like it's a regular check, and in 2 days it clears, and you have your money. Oh, yeah, I don't know about that. And I was like, plus I brought $55. Oh, you brought cash? No, we don't take cash. That's the first time I've ever heard anybody say, I don't take cash for a car. I'm like, what the fuck you mean you don't take cash? He's like, no, we don't handle cash here. So this is a small, like, Avis Car Sales operation, so they don't have like a huge cashier thing. It looked like a 3-man show, small office, whatever, in Massachusetts. So I couldn't believe my ears. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, if you want to take the car today, if we accept this auto check, you're going to have to go up and get money orders. I said, fuck. So first of all, I don't even want to be here in Massachusetts, East Boston. A lot of fucking traffic. I said, where else do I got to drive in this traffic in these tunnels to get money orders? He goes, oh, you got to go right up the street. And he goes, I think max on each money order's $500. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, so you'll need this many, and then they charge you for each one. I was like, this just sounded like a pain in the ass. And I said, I just drove 3 hours to look at this thing. I brought cash to bring it home. And to come to find out, they didn't even have the title on site, which fucking irritated me. How do they sell a goddamn car without the goddamn title? But anyhow, I'm starting to get into my purchase at a rental company. So, yeah, anyways. So long story short, let's get into me buying a car at the rental company. I know this video is getting long. I try to keep them short generally. So, my experience was good. So first of all, I'm a mechanic, so I bought a lot of cars. Anyways, I buy and sell cars in addition to buying this car. This car's, I don't think I'm going to sell, but I like the idea of it. This car's to keep for the family. So I went down here, drove down to East Boston to look at his van. It looks beautiful in pictures. It's a 2018. It's got 32,000 miles on it. So it's just barely turned 1 year old. I don't even think it was a year old when I looked at it. Whatever, it was pretty damn close, or like a month away, whatever it had been from being a year old. But I'm like, cool. My wife was really digging that it was an 18 and we weren't going to get a 14 or a 16. My van's making noise here. 16 or 15, whatever. So we check out 2 while we're down in Boston, right? And the bank didn't know I was going after the 18 as well. In addition, I told them I was going after a 15 with 20,000 miles on it. So I was just going to stroke the check for the 18 if we went with it, and just fucking dealt with it when I got back. I don't know if that's the way to go about it, but I would have figured it out. Anyhow, so the gentleman I spoke with was nice. He's kind of a weird dude to figure out, but he was nice. Turns out he was from the area that I'm from, and he moved down there. And so whatever. I take the van, I drive it around in these tunnels in Boston, and it was a very short drive, 15 minutes, a lot of traffic. It wasn't a very good test drive at all for somebody to really grasp how this van runs. But I'm okay with it. Like I said, I bought a lot of cars, and for me, a car with 30,000 miles on it and 18, it's not going to have much wrong with it. The most important things is to look for lay down guys. Look in a parking lot if it's wet, try to find a dry spot or bring something to lay on. Look for damage. You know, people have rented these cars. Make sure they haven't hit anything. You don't see any obvious damage. I mean, you don't have to be a mechanic to notice that stuff. Look at the oil pans, the subframes, the splash shields, the bumpers, the supports, everything you can see underneath. You guys, look at the exhaust. It shouldn't be damaged. You know, if you see damage, then just back out. You know, or if it's damage that you can live with, there you go. So I checked it all out. Like in my test drive, I could tell the tires were shaky, and the brakes pulsate, right? So there's a pulsation, which I'm like, okay, it's not the end of the world, and I'm not too concerned about that items. But I know damn well in my mind that I'm going to try to use that to dicker them down. Even though they say right on their website, it's the no dicker sticker price. Like, this is low, it's cheap. And I agree, it was low for what it was. It was $23,000 for an 18. I'm like, the price is good, that's why I'm here. So anyways, I talked to the guy, you know, blah, blah, blah. We go through the whole auto check thing, which I already spoke about. So anyways, I ended up telling him that I want a van. And I said, what I'm going to do is, since you're all weirded out about that, and I want you guys to take care of balance the tires and check into the brakes. And I said, I'll come back next weekend and pick the van up. Plus, you don't have the title, which blows my mind. It's across the street in a lockbox. And I'm like, people come down on a weekend to buy cars. Like, I'm not local. So if people do that, I don't want to give you $23,000 or whatever, and not have a title to walk away with. So I was like, I'll come down next weekend. And it had an open recall. Guys, get your auto checks or your Carfaxes or whatever. I probably should have made this video longer. It's really dragging out. But look through your auto checks and your VIN checks, whatever they use for a website. Ask for one. They should supply you with one. If they don't, then do it on your own. But if they want to sell you the van, they'll give you one. You got to look through the history and take the time. Don't let them talk and keep you distracted. Look through it, okay? Look. You're probably not going to see much for services because they're going to be doing them on their own, and they might have been slim, whatever. Just know that going looking at the van or whatever car you're looking at. Okay, what you're looking for is warranted repairs. You know, you don't want to see multiple the same issues of warranty repairs, right? So that would indicate to me that there's an issue with this van in this one particular area, and that I'm probably going to experience these same issues, right? And I wouldn't go for it, right? I'd love to see oil change history, which there wasn't a lot of with that, and the reason is because they just weren't reporting the services. Maybe they only did a few of them, you know what I'm saying, for oil changes. I'm not too concerned about it. It only has 30,000 miles on it. Even if they did 2, in that time, I'm not too concerned. So, anyhow, get your auto checks, whatever. So, long story short, again, I go back down the following weekend. We had communicated throughout the week. The guy was great. He's like, yeah, I got you a second key fob programmed at the dealer, which he said he'd get for me. He got the recall taken care of. He's like, yep, they rebalance the tires and they check the brakes are fine. And I'm like, I know it's horse shit, I know what I'm talking about, but I'm like, whatever, I'll just deal with it when I get home. It's not a big deal. Slap a couple rotors on, whatever it may be. I could tell the brake pads looked new looking in through the rims, and it looked to me just like the rotors had sat too long and they got rusty, whatever. Had some spots from the brake pads. And so whatever, I go down, I got him a bank check because that's what he wanted. I just gave the bank my cash. I actually got two bank checks. One for the cash that I wanted to put into the deals, $5,500 I put in cash, and then the rest of what I financed from the bank. So yeah, go down there. It was good, right? So he wanted to wash the vehicle when I got there. I'm like, dude, listen, if you haven't washed it before I got in here, I'm not trying to be rude, but I want to get the hell out of here. I'm gonna have 6 hours on the road. I'm gonna have some time dicking around with you, hitting the pissers, getting something to eat. Ooh, that was a big bum. I'm gonna be 7 hours on the road today, so don't worry about it. If you haven't done it, I don't want you to do it. So let's slam my plates on this thing. I brought my own plates from my old Odyssey. I slammed them on there. Most dealers aren't gonna let you do that. Because I had to register it in my home state, right? I couldn't register it there. And Mass doesn't offer temporary plates. They just don't, I guess they just don't do it. I don't know the details on that. But, so guys, I had a good experience, right? So right after that, I left, I went home, I put 240 miles on this van, headed back to my house, and it ran fine. So the brakes shook like I knew they were gonna. He just filled me full of BS. The tires were okay. I can't really tell if they did anything or not. But all in all, guys, the van rode good. You know, I scoped it out the inside, so there's no floor mats in these rental vans, so just know that. It's not a big deal. Who cares? Buy some floor mats. Whether it be a couple $100 or you get some cheap ones for $50, whatever. Or steal some. I'm kidding. So I'm actually sitting beside the van because I'm at my house. I can't think of anything else that went wrong. I had a weird rattle in the back that I told him I wanted, have his guys look at, and they didn't. He's like, oh, I think it was the seat. Well, as soon as I hopped on the highway, it was still rattling. And from what I figured out, it was the jack in the back and the side pouch. It was wound out, it's clamped in its holding spot, but it's metal to metal, and it was rattling. So I took that out. It seemed to go away for the most part. But my wife's been driving it. I'm willing to bet we've got almost 600 miles on it. And everything's been fine. This weekend I'm going to change the oil on it. I'm going to probably do an alignment on it. And I'm just going to scope it out underneath. I haven't even been under it yet. But she's had no issues. Everything's been working. The van's so far beautiful, knock on wood. Everything's worked. It's everything that I expected, everything I looked at. I went through all the gauges on the dash, make sure everything worked. I think that's just the biggest thing, guys. Just go through these cars. You're going to get a hell of a price buying it from a rental company. And I've seen people do videos and they're like, oh, well, somebody's beat the shit out of it, and oh, this and that and the other thing. When you go to a dealership and you're buying a used car, guys, what do you think you're getting? Somebody else has already owned it. Somebody else may have already beaten the shit out of it. And one thing that I learned when you get to the VIN or the Carfax, right? So even if you go to a dealership and you get a VIN or a Carfax and you see a history of a registration of a fleet vehicle, that is potentially a rental company. So if you buy a used car at a dealership, a lot of dealerships are buying these rental vehicles, checking them out, putting them on the lot and selling them. They'll put a warranty on them. You don't get a warranty. Well, you do and you don't from the rental company. They give you a 12-month, 12,000 mile warranty, at least with Avis. But guys, I'm 200 whatever miles away, 3.5 hours away. I'm just gonna fix it all on my own. Obviously that's what I do. They got $100 deductible. So, if it's piddly shit anyways, if you go down there, it's like, and the repair's $120, you're going to pay $100 of it anyways with your deductible. And all they're going to pay is $20. So the only thing that I would even entertain calling them on is if the transmission or engine shit out, knock on wood. But I got a 560 on the powertrain from Toyota anyways, from the factory. That transfers. I confirmed that before I bought it. Trying to think what else. Your titles, when you get your titles, guys, make sure the liens have been signed off on. This one had a lien on it from when they bought it. They leased it. Whatever they did. I think it was a lease. Yeah, they leased it. and then must have purchased it. I don't know what the hell they did, but I can see where the bank that financed it signed off on it. Had some other stickers and shit on it. I'm not from Mass, so the titles look weird to me. But I made sure there was no liens, no brands on the title. If you guys do get the title. That's the other thing to look for on a VIN, guys. I'm not a huge fan of buying salvage vehicles unless it was dirt cheap. I just don't do it. It's just something I don't do. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. You can save money with them, but I'm just not. The resale value sucks, and anytime somebody sees a salvage or rebuilt title, they're like, oh, I don't think so. That's my experience buying and selling vehicles anyways. I sell in the inexpensive side, couple grand, $3,000, $4,000. This is where I sell cars. So anyways, it's been so my rental van's been good. It's been a good experience, guys. The tires were in good shape. Check those out. Just drive it. Listen to the engine. If things sound funny, guys, don't use your gut. If it sounds funny, don't buy it anyways. Just go find another one. You don't have to buy the one you're going to look at. Don't make a stupid choice. And my advice to anybody is get your financing in order before you go, right? And don't overspend, damn it. I've been learning a lot of stuff about trying to control my finances a little bit more now that we're on one income, and not to spend my whole paycheck every week. I'm so sick of paying everybody. I know, and I still finance the van. I didn't want to, but the wife is happy. Everybody's happy. I'm happy with the van. It's nice. I should hold this value for a while. Toyota, it's a really nice van. This is an LE. It's not an all-wheel drive. I didn't even really want an all-wheel drive. I feel like there was more moving parts to go wrong. Maybe nothing happens to the all-wheel drive in these. I just didn't want it. And it's an LE. I didn't need any of the fancy features, to be honest with you. I'm going to have 4 kids in this van. Oh, I have 3 right now. So what I've done is remove the passenger side middle seat. And it's working out really well. It gives us huge access. But anyways, that's getting into detail in the Sienna van. So guys, don't hesitate. Look, Avis isn't the only company that does sells rentals. So in my searching, they weren't local to me. Maybe where a lot of you guys are, anybody that views this, maybe you have rental sales companies around. And don't get nervous like that you don't have a warranty. A lot of the vehicles I was looking at the dealership had certified pre-owned warranties, which would have been good. But the thing to keep in mind is most manufacturers anyways have a 560 powertrain. So, your engine and transmission for internally lubricated failures. So don't get fooled by that. So you're really only getting an extra 40,000 miles. That is huge, but when you're weighing your option, the van's an 18 that I bought with 32,000 miles on it. If I was to purchase that from where I am, it would have been anywhere from $25,000 to $28,000 at least. Because I was looking at 16s with 30,000 miles on it, and they were $24,000. There was one that I was going to go look at 22.9. There was one that was like 23.9. Then there was another one that was 24.9. So I'm like, just big money. So I got one 2 years newer, same mileage, but like I said, I don't care. Toyotas, in my experience, have been good. They hold their value. The mileage doesn't scare me. So guys, I have nothing bad to say. Just don't go, like I said, go with high expectations of having a huge warranty. You're not going to negotiate. So if you like the price and you'll buy it at that price, I got $200 knocked off for the inconvenience. But that was it, guys. They're not going to take $2,000 less. Maybe some people will have good luck with that, but from what I could tell, they're just not doing it. But they were great guys to deal with, except for the fact about the title. It kind of pissed me off, and that they wouldn't take cash. It was kind of a pain in the butt. Yeah, and it took out a lot of the time waiting, guys. I've bought new cars at dealerships, and it's been like a 3 or 4 hour ordeal. This was like I sat with him the first time for an hour, and the second time was like 45 minutes, and I was done. I didn't have to talk to the finance guy. I didn't have to talk to the sales manager. I didn't have to talk to the car's salesman, do the test drives and the buttering up. And, oh, what's your budget? What's this? What's that? What do you want to pay a month? I already know what I want to pay a month. I've already got my financing. I'm here because I want to purchase a van at the price that I saw, or pretty damn close to it. So that's key. I should do another video on that maybe some point when I get bored. Car dealers, they want to try to figure out what you want to pay a month, and then they'll just finance you for 7 or 8 years on these newer-ish used vehicles. And guys, that's retarded. Don't do it. Sorry, I'm itching my nose. Allergy season. But anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up my video. I've had great experience. So expect, like, basic stuff. Floor mats. You might have some, I'm not going to say you're going to have issues with the brakes, but silly stuff like the pulsation. You might need to do an oil change right away. Might need some wiper blades. My van needs wiper blades. I haven't done it yet. And I got to do a state inspection because Massachusetts is different than Vermont, which ain't a big deal. There's no engine lights on this thing. I'm just going to throw a sticker in it. And this needs to be cleaned up a little bit more. They weren't super good about the cleanliness, but it was clean enough to go with it. But anyways, guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please comment and ask me my experience. I was probably one of their more easier sells. Like, it didn't take me much convincing because I already had my financing. I already knew what my payment was going to be going down. Like, I didn't need any of that. It's like, let's figure out a price, and I need to give you the check. You need to give me the title type deal. And I didn't want the bullshit. Don't shine the wheels. Don't wash it. Like, I'm out. I want to go. Because at that point, I already owed the bank. They gave me a bank check. I already owed the money. I got 2 keys, 2 key fobs. Yeah, that's it, guys. That's all I have. Just make sure everything works. Power seats, heaters, AC, transmission shift smooth. Your windows aren't all damaged. You don't have cracks or chips or, check the obvious shit, guys. And if they don't want to negotiate because it has all that, just find a different one. You're going to find a cleaner one. You know what I'm saying? There's too many stone chips, or if it looks like the bumper's been painted, which I saw them painting bumpers in the parking lot. So it happens. It's not just the rental companies. Guys, I've seen it at the dealerships. I've worked there. They do it too. So don't be fooled. They do the same shit, if not worse. I wouldn't say the rental companies maintain them better. I can't speak from experience, but my guesstimation, these cars are going to need so little. You're probably talking flat repairs. This van's had tires, so 30,000 miles of needed tires. They put them on, which is great. They may or may not have put a set of brake pads in there. It's 30,000 miles. You know what I'm saying? They might be originals. I don't care. That's it. I'm making this longer than it needs to be. Guys, good luck. If you go for a rental, don't hesitate. Just be careful. Be smart, guys. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Make sure you check your book values. Make sure you're getting a deal.